pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. It's Sunday night. I'm well into a bottle of wine, as is my wont. And with my new retrenched budget, it's one bottle of wine a week. So my Sunday nights are pretty darned important. I figure being slightly tipsy is the perfect way to do it. BookTube tag. And I have been tagged by RememberedReads on the... Oh shit, I didn't... New Year's book tag. I didn't actually write it down on my notes, so if I've massacred the title, I believe it's called the New Year's book tag. There's quite a genealogy of wonderful booktubers, but RememberedReads was tagged by Steve Donahue, who was tagged by Wild Reads, and the original tag is by Bald Book Geek. I have RememberedReads and Bald Book Geek's videos in my show notes. And this is going to be a very quick tag for me. So there's one question I will take a little longer with because the other ones are going to go by. Going to be short and snappy. Question number 1. How many books are you planning to read in 2018? I talked about my total number at the end of last year, and I felt self-conscious about it because I really want to discourage the culture, not just within BookTube, but among bookworms everywhere, that quantity matters. So if you want to go back through my recent videos from the end of last year, you can find out, I guess, what the number was. And I may be around the same, but I really want to get away from gloating and pushing myself, because this year I want to focus on quality. So, 2. Name 5 books that you didn't get to this year but want to make a priority in 2018. Priority is too strong of a word because I don't care if I get to these this year, but in any deep way, in any way that would qualify as a priority, but there's a few. So I'm going to spend some time talking about them. Many of them I've talked on previous videos, but not recently. The first one is a classic. I don't know when it was published, in the 1930s, actually I have no idea. Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain. I've been wanting to read that book forever, and I didn't get to it last year, didn't really expect to, but I would be so pleased if I could make space for that, because I think I'm just gonna love it. Other ones, and I've got these physically, and in no particular order. This one was nominated for, I've forgotten, UK Literary Prize. It didn't win. I bought it long before I ever made anybody's long list or short list, based on some attention it was getting on Litsy. Sarah Baum's A Line Made by Walking. This is a novel about a young woman struggling with mental health issues who retreats to her grandparents' property in Ireland, I presume, and kind of communes with nature. I'm not much of a natural guy. And I'm drawn to writing that focuses heavily on nature, because it's kind of... I just randomly opened page 161, and the first full paragraph is this sentence. Works about, capital P, works about penises, comma, I test myself, colon, Rudolf Schwarzkogler. So I'll read that without the punctuation. Works about penises, I test myself. Rudolf Schwarzkogler. Okay, I'm off to Google as soon as this video's finished, but that just was a spontaneous delight. Anyway, what the hell was I saying? I like penises? No, I like nature. I've heard very mixed reviews of it, but I'm very curious about it. I'm drawn to works that have lots of beautiful nature writing, because I myself am quite obtuse about nature. One of the things that I loved about Gabriel Tallant's novel last year, my absolute darling, was the just incredible nature writing in it. So there's that one. Another one, and this one is an Indonesian novel, which Catherine over at Literary Prince hasn't even read. So if I read it before her, I am going to be more Indonesian than her, I think. There's no way around it. It's a 2002 novel called Beauty is a Wound by Ika Kurniawan. I remember Matthew Sharapa did a takedown review of another of his more recent novels, but this one has gotten, I think, consistently good reviews, and I love the softcover edition, and I would be delighted to finally get to it. Maybe as a buddy read with Catherine this year. I don't even know what it's about. I mean, it's an epic and a saga, starting with an Indo-prostitute, descendants beset with incest, murder, bestiality, rape, and the often fiercely vengeful undead. Alrighty then, well, we'll give it a try. Another one which I purchased last year and didn't get to, and have heard several end-of-year reviews that name this as number 1 or within the top 5. Sorry to Disrupt the Peace. That's the first time I think I've read the title on a BookTube video and didn't change it to Disturb, but yeah, Sorry to Disrupt the Peace by Patty Yumi Cottrell. Particularly Kendra Winchester and especially Joss at Scribbles Reads just raved about this. And so, before that I'd heard mixed reviews, and I have no idea how I will feel, but the fact that it has spoken so deeply to so many people who I care about on BookTube, I might even get to this one later this month if I can fit it in. It sounds so heavy. It opens with a young woman who finds out that in like page 1 or in the first chapter that her adoptive brother has committed suicide. I will definitely get to this one, maybe even next month. So, shout out for anybody that wants to buddy read it with me. This was, I think, the most popular book so far on any of my page 112 tag videos. Booker-winning novel, The Famished Road by Ben Okri. And he is Nigerian. It was published in 1991. The page 112 from this book is just stunning, so I have wanted to read it ever since. I got this in a Facebook book exchange about 1.5 years ago, and I will definitely read this soon. So, anybody's up for a buddy read of this, let me know. The narrator is an Abiku, a spirit child, who in the Yoruba tradition of Nigeria exists between life and death. I'm not so crazy about spirituality stuff, but I read that one page, and I don't care. This novel sounds amazing. The only other time I've talked about this on my channel was for a 5-star prediction video, and I still haven't got to it. 40 Rooms by Olga Grushin, a Russian-American writer. And this one could end up being gimmicky, but reader friends whose tastes I respect loved it, and it's the story of a woman's life told through the 40 rooms that she has lived in or have been important to her throughout her life. Sounds interesting. Also, maybe I first talked about it on that same 5-star prediction video, Kate Atkinson's kind of spiritual sequel to Life After Life, A God in Ruins. A chunkster. I am so excited about it. I've been putting it off because maybe I'm nervous that I won't like it as much as Life After Life, but after I fell in love with Life After Life, I went back to her debut novel, Blah 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 Museum, Behind the Scenes at the Museum or something, and bailed on it. I didn't like it, but I'll try it again. I expect this is going to be a hit for me. Another Booker Prize winner, The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga from India. It was published in 2008, and this was a lovely hardcover edition I picked up for like $2 in a charity shop in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. I should say that Karl Anderson did a great video a couple days ago about the Booker 50 reading challenge. I am not going to take on any big reading challenge like reading all 50 of the, or is it 52 of the Booker Prize winners. But he beguilingly talked about 4 of his favorites, and I didn't think to include it here. So, from memory, The Sea by Iris Murdoch. He had a lovely first edition on his shelf. I'd never heard of that particular novel. I did a blind page 112 tag with another of her novels, which totally disabused me of my preconception that I might not really like her writing. I loved that page. So he talked about The Bone People by Carrie Hume, which I was only vaguely aware of, which was a Booker Prize winner. Marlon James's A Brief History of 7 Killings. I always massacre that title when I try to pull it out of my brain, but the one that's about Bob Marley, which I was deeply aware of but haven't gotten to. And number 4, a short novel from Britain, Jonathan. Okay, that one's gone out of my head, but he's a famous writer along the lines of Martin Amis. I have other of his books sitting here, and I actually think I have a copy of that book that Eric talked about that was a Booker Prize winner, but I can't remember. But those 4, I'll put that up in the notes. But those 4 I would love to get to just because he spoke so passionately about them. And other than that, the last one I have on my pile is a classic of modern Russian literature, published and immediately confiscated by the Soviets in 1960 and then smuggled into the West in 1980. Vasily Grossman's Life and Fate. A chunkster at 800 plus pages, and I believe I have a standing buddy read prearranged with Peg, don't I, Peg? Be nice to get to this year as well. So those are the books that I would be great to get to this year. So the rest of these questions are going to go quite quickly. 3. What genre do you want to read more of? I'm only interested in literary fiction with a little bit of history and any kind of creative biography and poetry, but no, literary fiction only. I am a complete and utter snob when it comes to what I consider genre fiction, like mysteries or fantasy or sci-fi or stuff. Not interested. 4. Name 3 non-book related goals for 2018. 2 of them are easy. My fiance, Kenji, and I are moving in together for the first time in June, having our own apartment, so that's a goal, to make that work and successful. We have never lived together and at present spend on an average of 2 nights a week together, so it's going to be a big challenge to be living full-time with my fiance, and then soon to be my husband, or I guess I haven't decided if I'm going to use that word, but Kenji and I are getting married in Canada in August, so those are 2 mega goals. Number 3, I'm not particularly goal-oriented, so I don't have a 3rd. Improve my Japanese. But at least I have 2. 5. What's a book you've had forever that you still need to read? I talked about this on a previous video, but it's a long time ago, and I asked for Steve Donahue to weigh in on it, and he never did, so maybe he'll watch this one weigh in. This is one of the few books that I lugged, and I do mean lug, from Canada when I moved to Japan in April 2009. And I paid about $80 on Amazon.com to buy it, and it was after I read A Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin, which I was already interested in Lincoln, but that popular history made me obsessed with Lincoln, and because of that I splurged on this 2-volume biography of Lincoln, and I only read about 80 pages of it about 3 years ago and got stalled, even though I was enjoying it. Just too much going on in my life, and it's a really heavy 2-volume book, so I'll show it to you now. I believe his name is Michael Burlingame, Abraham Lincoln, A Life. Box set of 2 volumes. Michael Burlingame, published in 2008. Volume 1, and I read about 80 or 100 pages of that, not including footnotes, is about 750 pages, so the second volume will probably be the same. So I don't intend to get to this in 2018, but maybe I will. Steve Donahue, is this the book to read for more about Lincoln, or is there another one that you would recommend more? It's the second time I've asked. 6. One word that you're hoping 2018 will be. Impeachment. And 7. Tag a friend. Kind of random, but these are people that I'm not sure if I've seen 2018 reading goals videos for or anything, but maybe I have. But Remembered Reads, Luukashist Books, Curtis Books and Films, Literary Prints, Oly Bliss, and Marsha Osborne. So that is my New Year's book tag. I sure enjoyed doing it. So thanks for watching.